Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Time Impact Evaluation Training webinar. My name is Javier Pruitt-Hill. I work in the Office of Civil Rights at BART. I administer the Small Business Support Services program. Again, welcome. The purpose of the Time Impact Evaluation Training webinar is to increase attendees' technical understanding of a time impact evaluation, which is also known as a time impact analysis. Two, assisting small businesses in successfully completing their project on time and under budget. Three, providing small businesses with information to receive SBSS technical assistance, which is absolutely free. And lastly, which is probably equally as important as the aforementioned, is to learn how to truly navigate the uniqueness of BART and how to manage a construction project at BART. I'd like to acknowledge and thank the BART staff and project managers who are joining this webinar. A special thank you to all of you for your continued support of the Small Business Support Services program. Next slide, please. Here's our agenda. Next on the agenda is Mr. Harry Overstreet II. He is the SBSS project administrator. Harry is very passionate about the work that he executes for small businesses on the post-award side, so you'll find him very knowledgeable. Next on the agenda, we have Mr. Mohammed Talib. He is our subject matter expert for this evening, and you again will find him very equally passionate about the subject matter that he will present to you this evening. And then lastly, we'll have a questions and discussions section. It's important that we make this as interactive as possible because we truly want our participants to gain the most from this training webinar. So as my colleague, Mr. Reyes stated on the onset, Zoom does have a function for us to be more participatory by entering comments in the chat function, raising your hand, etc. So please feel free to utilize that function. Next slide, please. I want to briefly give an overview of the Small Business Support Services purpose. So the purpose of the SBSS program is to increase the number of small businesses winning BART construction contracts as primes and subs, and to increase the success rate for those small businesses currently working on BART projects. It's important to note that the SBSS program is 100% free of charge to small businesses. Next slide, please. There are two components of the SBSS program. You have the pre-award SBSS component and the post-award SBSS component. Both components of the program will provide technical assistance to small businesses supporting their success in winning BART contracts and for those small businesses currently working on BART contracts. So you see here, this list gives a brief overview of some of the technical assistances we provide, but it is not limited to. Next slide, please. Here's the contact information for the SBSS program. Again, myself, Javier Pruitt-Hill. I administer the Small Business Support Services program. You have my colleague, Mr. Paul Pendergast, who administers the pre-award component. And then again, you have Mr. Harry Overstreet II, who administers the post-award component. Here's our contact information. Please, please, please feel free to reach out to receive that free technical assistance. Next slide, please. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Mr. Harry Overstreet II, the post-award project administrator. Harry has tons of experience with working with small businesses. He's worked on our earthquake safety program at BART, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Also, Harry's and his family have tons of experience in this industry for many generations. So we're very fortunate to have him a part of our team and a part of our program. So no further ado, I'll introduce Mr. Harry Overstreet. Harry.
Thank you, Javier. And I want to thank everybody who's come out, not come out, who's here for the webinar, for the good information that we have. Um, as the project administrator for the Small Business Support Services Post Award, it's our job really to help all the small businesses succeed. And there are a number of ways that we do that. We'll talk more about that very briefly. I'm gonna go through these slides very briefly so that we can get to Mohammed and all the really good information he has. Next slide, please. So in general, I've been around BART since about 2007. I worked with the Earthquake Safety Program on a very similar project like this, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the issues that small businesses face. Next slide, please. So on the Post Award, in part of our Post Award program, we have a very talented team of REs and staff who are available to assist small businesses with a lot of the procedures and requirements that are required at BART to complete a successful contract. Here you have a list that many of you are very familiar with. I won't go through all of them, but we all know the schedule of values, the baseline schedules, health and safety plans, all of the requirements that BART has, some of which are unique, but are all required to navigate successfully to complete a contract successfully. Next slide, please. And this information will be available. This information and this presentation will be available afterwards. You can contact me. And so it'll also be housed online, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So there are a number of ways that we assist people. We provide one-on-one service, assistance to companies, to individuals, or we do workshops also, like this workshop. We do project-specific workshops, and then we do a general audience workshop. This is a general audience workshop. And in front of you are some other workshops that we've done that have really good information about how to work with BART, how to navigate BART's contracting system, getting ready for successful contract delivery. It gives you an introduction. One I'd like to draw attention to that BART Legal was kind enough to produce for us was Know Your Rights, Stop Payment Notices, and Subcontractor Bond Rights. What that does is really lets the subcontractor know where they stand in relationship to BART, to their general contractor, to BART's, kind of what their rights are. It's good information. This workshop will be housed on the same website along with those other workshops, this time impact evaluation. And we know we wanted to get this out because we're sure there are a lot of questions about this particular time where we are and the number of delays that are faced on a lot of the projects. Quickly, one of the things that I do to assist the projects, I attend project meetings, working with CM teams, with general contractors, and we understand and hearing about the delays and the problems, supplies, and so forth. So we felt this workshop would be relevant. Next slide, please. So there we go. So the Yes Course Academy. Michael, would you mind clicking the link very quickly? The Yes Course Academy is our website that shows where these workshops will be housed. It has a lot of information from our pre-award services as well as our post-award services. And there we go. And I just wanted to give you a quick look at that, but the link is available. There will be a link in our presentation that will go to this website. There's a lot of good information to help you through this, to help you get work and to help you complete work. That's it, Michael. I just wanted to give everybody a glimpse of that. And so to make a long story short, we are here to help. Next slide, please. So please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to we communicate with everybody from subcontractor to general contractor to the CM team. So our information is here. Next up, I'd like to introduce Mohammed Talib, who is one of our REs that I'm very privileged to work with, who has lots of experience and is available and is currently helping some small businesses on various projects. So Mohammed, that's it. I'm gonna get out of your way. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to our event this evening or this late afternoon. My name is Mohammed Taleb. I am a licensed California registered civil engineer with nearly 3 years of experience on a variety of projects with some of them are with multi-civil engineering disciplines, and I've had the pleasure and good fortune of working for some of the finest organizations throughout my career, one of which happens to be the one I'm representing now, the Allen Group. I have had a direct BART experience for nearly 5.5, close to 6 years now. The last 2.5 years, I have been the resident engineer on the BART earthquake safety program contract at the Fruitvale and the Coliseum stations. This project is supposed to be completed by January of 2021 with a little help and working in a partnering spirit and working with good people. We managed to complete the contract 11 months ahead of time. And a little plug, if I may, this project won the Cal OSHA Golden Gate Safety Award. This speaks volumes, considering the fact that we had to work through many challenges, and it left the SF Public Utilities Commission people happy when they paid us a surprise visit or a site visit that was not scheduled but was planned on a short notice. My role in this program is to provide technical assistance to small businesses, prime and subs, and use the experience and the knowledge that I have gained through my work experience with the fine organizations such as the BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit organization, and going through the formalities. I want to try to be as proactive as possible. I welcome calls, emails, texts, day or night. I'm enjoying this. So as long as I'm enjoying it, I don't care when I get the call or when I get the question. I would be more than happy to help. My phone and email, my contact details are shown on this slide, and please let me know if you have any questions. I wish to highlight at this point that I am a civil engineer with construction and contract administration background. I am neither a scheduling expert nor am I a claims specialist. However, as I said before, I've been exposed to both schedules and claims, and they don't really scare me. Next slide, please. I will be discussing during today's presentation several items that, or several definitions or aspects of the time impact evaluation process. We'll go over the definition, the types of time impact evaluation. We will analyze delays. We will ask and answer the question, or try to answer the question of why time impact evaluations are used, what it takes to prepare it, what an RE or a client's representative needs to consider during evaluation, and then the steps that, or the formality, the formalization of what comes after the time impact evaluation process. Next slide, please. I'm hoping that by the end of this presentation, we will come out with at least these four items that we see on the screen. Knowing the timing considerations, timing is very, very important, especially when it comes to um, encountering situations that are not accounted for, or unforeseen situations, which lead to delays and damages maybe later on. Documentation requirements. Through personal experience, I think documentation is the backbone of any case that you as a contractor will have. Imagine that after 5 or 6 years down the line, after the project is handed over, a lawsuit, if you want to be so dramatic, takes place, and litigation takes place. The documentation should, I always tell my staff that the documentation should be designed and structured so that whoever reads them will feel that they were in that position at that time. So documentation is a very, very important element of this time impact evaluation process. Risk awareness. This will help you in bidding. If you are familiar with a certain area and you are familiar with risks that are associated with the work, like contaminated soil, which we'll be talking about soon, or underground utilities, or unstable water table, because water table can change. It depends on the soil, which is susceptible to volume changes with variations in moisture content. So it changes. Now, 15 years ago, we didn't have any records of groundwater. Risk awareness, an overall understanding of the term risk awareness must be put forward and before our eyes when we are bidding for a project and preparing an offer. You need to be able to present your case and defend it. This is a case where a delay took place. The delay came at a cost. You need to prove to me as an RE or as a client representative that you are aware, you are owed, or you are due these costs. How do I know? How do you convince me? By giving me a case that you can discuss and defend with documentations, with backup information, with proper turns of events that are being described in a factual account as they have transpired. Next slide, please. We will start by the definition. I looked through several sources. The definitions slightly differ, but the concept or the meaning is the same. It is time impact evaluation, which is also known as time impact analysis by the majority of the civil engineering industry. It represents the methodology to analyze the delays occurring in a project in order to determine and apportion between the parties involved the responsibility of such delays or disruptions that brought them about. In simple English, it is the methodology to award excusable days to project completion due to delays that were beyond the contractor's control in many cases, and which means they were not the responsibility of the contractor. The time impact analysis typically requires a relevant schedule, critical path method, that is able to show actual differences between an as-built or a schedule that does not include a delay and a schedule that does include a delay. That's the difference. That's where the CPM comes into play. The delay, of course, is a result of a delay event. It takes into account what actually happened to date, what took place that caused this slippage or this delay to be realized. And it does require a dynamic analysis of the project. We will be talking about this in the next few slides. Next slide, please. There are typically two types of time impact evaluations: prospective time impact evaluation, which is and retrospective time impact evaluation. As the names indicate, prospective time impact evaluation is a time impact evaluation that analyzes a delay before it occurs. If you know that this area has contaminated soils because it was in an industrial land for a long time, and you have to excavate deep. You have to know what it will take to deal with this soil, the contaminated soil. It's not just any soil that anybody can handle. It has to be properly tested, properly stored, properly protected, properly transported, and properly disposed of. And all this comes with a cost. Retrospective time impact evaluations is basically analyzing a delay that we never saw coming. As a project manager, we would all love to know what the that we would love to deal with the first case, which is the prospective TIE, but it doesn't happen in this construction world. Not all events, by the way, are or that differ from the planned schedule of work will result in a schedule impact. But this presentation is prepared to discuss those events that have impacts on the schedule. Analyzing delays resulting in time impact evaluation. We will be looking at shortly. In the next few slides, we'll be looking at three different examples of what all this means, what it means to determine the delayed sub-activity that affected the project execution, which caused us to build or prepare a fragnet, which is a term used in the US. I think from the 60s, it means, or it stands for fragment of network. We will also be looking at what it means to establish the cause of the slippage of the project completion date, how it happened, how it came about, how it was minimized, if at all minimized, or did it mushroom, did it go out of proportion. We will also understand what it means to quantify the effect of each delay on the completion date, and assigning or apportioning the responsibilities to the parties involved. Next slide, please. This no, next one, number 23, I think. Oh, do we have any questions so far? Are there any? Am I going too fast? Am I not clear? Do I have a problem making a point, or? Okay, let's move on to the next slide, please. I'm going to discuss three different scenarios which I have personally encountered during my. I have encountered many more, but these are the ones that are more recent and that stick to memory more than anything else. This is all these three examples were encountered during my project, my current project, which is winding down. We are in the closeout stage now, but during the course of the project, among the numerous challenges that we encountered during the project, this is one of them, which was the encountering contaminated soil. These are classified as differing site conditions, which is basically defined as a material or a significant difference between the conditions represented in the contract plans or the contract documents and those that are encountered at the job site. uh, uh, the contractor was in this particular photo supposed to drill or excavate to 15 feet to reach the footing of this pedestrian overcrossing, which is the overcrossing that takes pedestrians from the Coliseum station to the Auckland Coliseum and the arena. Part of the project was to retrofit two of the columns that are closest to the station. And to retrofit this, we had to excavate to about 15 feet deep. And just as luck would have it, we noticed that there was a very strong odor, different from your normal soil that you encounter during excavation. And the contractor decided to suspected that it was contaminated. He stopped the work and notified me or notified BART, and it was a delay that affected the work to continue. It's a differing site condition. It was not called for on the plans. So the question is a TIE warranted here? I usually answer it with a question. Is it identified in the contract? If it is identified in the contract, then it is not a time impact evaluation, in my opinion is not warranted. If it is not identified in the contract, then I think, in my opinion, it should be the case, and the time impact evaluation is warranted. To understand what this whole thing about delay means, you imagine we are in the middle of a progress or excavation, and reaching a certain depth, working to finish a contractual item, backfilling, and moving on with our lives. In this case, during the excavation, we encountered contaminated soils. It had to have been, we required that it be tested, stored, and storage has space and time limitations. You have to separate it from other stockpiles which are known not to be contaminated, and it has to be removed from the job site as soon as possible. I was told that if it remains at the job site for more than 30 days, the area where it is stockpiled will be considered by the authorities as a storage facility, which does not meet the requirements of a contaminated storage facility, and that would put BART and the contractor at a liability. And the transportation, depending on the contamination degree or the grade of contamination, you can either take it to Livermore, where there is an approved contaminated soil dumping facility, or Utah, the state of Utah, which hosts a more contaminated or a higher degree of contaminated or soils with a higher degree of contamination levels. Usually, when this situation is encountered, the contractor will be immediately provide the services of a qualified hazardous material consultant, who will be responsible for sampling excavated material and removing and disposing of any surplus material, or that material altogether that is found to contain excessive levels of contamination. The consultant will be expected to sample, test, and report the materials to determine, to make the project teams determine what to do next as far as the material is handling the material is concerned. This is all time consuming. I was supposed to excavate, finish, do footing work, backfill, and move on. Instead, I am excavating. Now I have a soil that I have to deal with and get rid of and replace with suitable material. And all of this comes at a cost. Can we move to the next slide, please? Another example is a situation that is classified under a buried man-made object. Buried man-made object is discussed in Caltrans earthwork standard specification section 19, which which talks about earthwork, and it spells out the circumstances or the procedures that one would need to take to deal with a buried man-made object. The only reason I mentioned Caltrans is because in BART's contracts, um, most of the time, if not always, you will see reference made to a California Department of Transportation standard specification or specification document. So it is part of the contract, of the BART contract, because it is referenced. As long as it is referenced, it is part of the contract. So it's a good idea to make sure that, and these documents actually are issued regularly. So there was a 1999 standard specification, 2010, 2014, 2015. I think now we have a 2020 version. Depending on when the design was performed, in my case, I think it was 2014. The standard specification of 2014 standard Caltrans standard specification was used as a reference in our contract. Again, in this situation, we have a buried man-made object. It happens to be a big chunk of concrete. It could have been buried for since BART was first built, 40 or 50 years, when they had no guidelines on concrete washout facilities or dumping of concrete rubbles. You know, maybe this is a wall of reinforced concrete that was torn down and buried and to be used as fill. So it has to be handled and removed. You have to remove it. Instead of having just an excavator, now you have an excavator with a grabber attachment and another jackhammer attachment. You will have more vehicles because you have to separate the concrete and the steel for their respective recycling facilities, who will not take both. They will take one or the other. So that does take time and it costs money. Next slide, please. I have another, the third and final example of this time impact evaluation is whether a time impact evaluation is warranted or not, is the discovery of unknown utilities. If you work in existing train stations or BART or airport or areas where there are a lot of utilities, communication, electrical, phone, cable, automated or automatic, in our case, we had the firefighting systems, a compressor line that was buried in the ground to provide power in case there was an outage. All kinds of utilities. This is just one of them. What we see in the picture here, we actually excavated and encountered a bunch of conduits, and we had to work around them until we identified the type, identified the owner, determined if they were live or abandoned, or and the owner came out. The owners are different BART agencies, which are not going to be sitting next to a phone waiting for a call for somebody who said they discovered something. They are usually overworked, and from what it looks like, they are understaffed. I mean, there's more work than people can handle. So waiting for these people to come out and assess the situation and direct us on what to do. They own the system. We can't just pick it up and move it around. Sometimes they say either repair it if it's damaged, repair it and protect it in place, or repair and relocate, or just relocate, or discard if it's abandoned. You can remove it and get rid of it, or you can simply cap it by separating it from a higher soils to provide some sort of protection. So again, these guys the cables, the conduits that we encountered did not look like this. They actually were separate conduits, but we had to protect them because we needed to work around it. So the contractor built some encasement. He encased them in wood, strapped them, and suspended them from a higher beam to keep them at the same elevation in which they were found. Next slide, please. In the time impact evaluation process.
Pardon me, I'm sorry, Mohammed, if I could interrupt you for just a moment.
Sure.
When we went through the last question and answer slide, I'm not sure that everybody knew that they were able to unmute their microphones. So I just wanted to jump in for just a hot second and just again invite anybody to ask any questions and to participate. And I hope, I thought maybe after the examples might be a good spot to jump in. Sorry to cut you off. So I just want to extend that to everybody, that if they do have any questions, this is the moment when you can unmute your phones or your lines and ask a question.
Thank you, Harry.
Oh,
Just to add to that, Mohammed, quickly, thanks, Harry, for chiming in. I did notice there are a couple of consultants participating on the webinar, and you're experts in scheduling and claiming or in claims. So we welcome all of your expertise to this training webinar. Again, we want to make it as interactive as possible and bring folks subject matter expertise to the table to make it more of a collaborative effort. So thanks again.
Thank you.
And I guess with that, we'll continue.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Javier. My next slide is basically talking about a fragment, which again means, or short for fragment of a network. The original plan was to excavate and do some earthworks and then work on foundations, and that was it. But during the course of the excavation, we encountered and identified situations which were causes of a delay, and subsequently a time impact evaluation was to be prepared and submitted. Then the procedures usually, if you encounter something that is not shown on the contract plans or the contract documents is not referenced in any of your contract documents, is to, as soon as you identify the situation, the engineer must be notified immediately. And together with that, the contractor is supposed to, or is expected to, start the clock, because work is taking a different direction now. Yeah, we're going into the right direction, but we have a detour, which going through these issuing a notice of differing site condition, investigation, and then doing the additional work, which all is a change order. The fragment is basically a CPM or a schedule, a mini schedule that is built in, a mini schedule of the impact, the activities that are resulting from the impact, the delay, and that would impact a certain activity or a sub-activity. In this case, the red elements of this sketch, the diamond, the three rectangles, and the slanted arrow. This is what is causing my work to be delayed. This is what is causing me to expect slippage in the project. So naturally, the first thing that would be to notify the engineer and investigate the situation, find out what it is that we have, and is it a buried man-made object? Is it contaminated soil? Is it high groundwater table? Is it material that is different from what is prescribed in the logs of test boring or the contract? All of these are valid arguments. The additional work, after we find the material, after we determine what needs to be done with it, after we determine, we begin, the work can take place immediately while the paperwork is being processed, as long as timing and documentations are in place. You, as a contractor, must agree with your counterpart from the client side, the inspector at the job site, or the resident engineer. You notify them that this is our day, our first day of performing or start the work, and notify the client that you are starting the additional work, and document this on a daily basis with the inspector. Don't pile up the extra work bills until a month later, and then give the inspector a bunch of 30, because I will not accept anything that is older than 48 days. End of story. It has to be done this way because it's for everybody's benefit, and especially the contractor's benefit. I will not remember what happened 30 days ago when I see something that I need to approve or verify or buy off. Timely submission of documentations and accurate information must be submitted in a timely manner to the client representative. The additional work, and if you start working while you are preparing the change order documentations, you're guaranteed that you will be compensated for, and BART will definitely honor their promise to compensate you. Okay, next slide, please. There is the question of no. That's the one previous to that, I think. After that. Okay, yeah. Why you use TIE? The reasons for using time impact evaluation, as we just mentioned, is it could be anything. And the reason why we need to use the time impact evaluation is to be able to illustrate a forecasting change, which can result in impacts. It's for risk sharing mechanism to determine who owns what, which part of this time or delay. It maintains the schedule accuracy. If we slip in the CPM, the mini CPM, the fragnet into the main CPM, and recalculate the completion dates, then we have a more realistic and accurate schedule to keep us our project on track. Creating a fragnet, we already talked about that. Calculating the start and the change condition dates. Again, this is all about timing. When this change started, how long it went on for, and then when it ended. So I tell my inspectors to, when in their diaries, as soon as an event, a change is encountered, write the word begin, all capital, in your diary, and then explain what happened, what was discovered. On the next day, instead of the word begin, write the word continue. This is likely to go on for 10 days. So the next 10 diaries will be saying continue, continue, continue. Describe the situation by starting with the word continue. And then when you believe that you are at on the last day of that activity, use the word end instead of continue. This will give the reviewer an easier time managing the situation and collecting the relevant information, instead of flip-flopping between files and folders and pages, which is time-consuming and really not practical. So timing is a very important part of this process. Authenticate the completion date. Again, authentication of the completion date is by agreeing on the date through a mutual signature on a single document, which is usually the extra work bill. It has to be signed by the contractor and accepted or concurred by the inspector. Next slide, please. Time impact evaluation preparation. This is the contractor's court. It is in the contractor. You need to submit a work plan and a cost proposal to identify the nature of the work, list your resources, whether it is from within an in-house or subs or materials or services, specialist services provided by others. You need to write a method statement in case you have, for example, when we had the contaminated soils issue, we had to go to 15 feet down below the original ground level, and at 9 feet we encountered the groundwater. So there was another delay in addition to this delay, which is a concurrent, both of which are now called concurrent delays. They are delays that are overlapping. During the excavation work, we encountered water. We cannot advance the excavation because the water is there and you have to work in the dry. So you have to show me how you are going to control this water influx or ingress into the excavated area. We need to develop some dewatering techniques, certain number of wells, certain number of pumps with different capacities. Where are you going to store the water? What are you going to do when the Baker tank that you have is full and you still haven't completed? You have to take the water and dispose of it. How are you going to do that? Based on what? What are the limitations? What are the procedures? This is California. They will not just allow you to dump water anywhere, or just like they won't allow you to dump contaminated soil anywhere. So all these events need to be documented in a manner that is as factual as it happened. They have to be documented, and you will use them one day for sure during your during the course of this work. What are you going to do about the dewatering? When you pump water out, you are going to likely affect the areas that are within the excavation. What are you going to do to make sure that minimum vertical movements or accepted vertical movements take place? Nothing that is outside of tolerance. You have to show me. Maybe what happens? What will happen if the water starts flowing at a faster rate than the pumping rate? You need to add another pump. You need to increase the capacity of your pumps. I don't know. So you have to show me in a method statement, your means and methods of performing this stuff, this type of work, and you need to document all these events. We already mentioned that. I may have made a mistake. The 48, the number 48, I used during my discussion about the extra work bills. It's not 48 days, it's 48 hours. Do not keep information or the extra work tags for more than 48 hours in your position if you want to get paid, at least by me. That's my policy, and that's how it goes. Again, this is from one of the previous slides. Thank you for whoever brought this to my attention. So the number of hours that can be, within which the document can be in your position and not shown to our staff is 48 hours, not 48 days. Immediately, within 2 days of facing an event, it must be documented and brought to our attention, and the times and the situation must be signed off by our by the client's representative. Next slide, please. We're going to now talk about the time impact evaluation review, which is yes, concurrent delays. I believe this is yeah. These two delays are. I just got a question about whether concurrent delays can be included in the same time impact evaluation process. I want to say yes because yeah, the delay to a certain operation, two delays within a certain operation took place and delayed this particular operation. So yeah, they have to be both included in the time impact evaluation. I would leave this also to the experts who would I would like to hear from in a more professional term manner. The review of the time impact evaluation is by the RE or the client representative in this case. He or she will be reviewing the schedule. The reviewing the schedule will involve the evaluating whether the sequences make any sense. Are they logical? Is testing going to be happening? Testing is definitely in a contaminated soil will happen after the discovery, but it will not happen after it is excavation out of the area or after its transportation. It has to be done. So there is a sequence that has to be um, evaluated. Limitations and procedures. What are the procedures? The limitations. This is contaminated soil. Yes, I'm an RE. I'm responsible for the job. I will be the one held accountable for the timely or lack thereof completion of the project. But at the same time, there are other BART forces that must be involved. In this case, environmental. I have to communicate with the environmental agency within BART and find out how to handle this, or would it be possible to return this material, although it is contaminated? Can we reinstate it to where it was, depending again on the degree of contamination? Sometimes they will say yes, put it back where it belongs, but any surplus material will have to be removed and disposed of in a professional, in a proper manner. It's on a case-by-case basis, but that does not relieve the RE or the CM team from the responsibility of involving other BART agencies. What are the procedures? Same thing goes for the utilities. I can't just tell the guys, yeah, just buckle it or bundle it up, protect it, and work around it. Or maybe it's too dangerous to handle. I don't know. That's why we have other BART forces that will require to be notified and come out to inspect this. So there are procedures, there are limitations that everybody needs to be aware of in order to progress or move forward. A copy of the most recent schedule prior to the impact and the updated schedule. It's always a good idea to have both schedules. The adjusted as planned CPM schedule or approach to evaluate the as planned CPM approach and the as built CPM approach. It's mandatory sometimes to and it is mandatory to have an updated schedule anyway every month because it's part of your payment processing payment application process. Are there any concurrent delays? Yes, in this case, in the case of the contaminated soil, we have contaminated soils and high groundwater table. In the case of the unknown utilities, we encountered the utilities and we waited for the owners to come and tell us what to do. These are two delays that may be associated with the same time impact evaluation. Next slide, please. This is basically, we've already went through this, which is building a fragnet. You evaluate, okay, during the building of the fragnet, uh, uh, you will use the fragnet as a contractor, and the RE will use the fragnet to visualize the turn of events, the chain of events, and during this, I will know the resources that were exhausted or used, whether it is material, tools, equipment, personnel, subcontractors, the direct costs like overhead, home office costs. All of these have to be included in order for me to evaluate. And as an evaluator, as a reviewer, I have my own sources, which is the Caltrans document that is issued every April of every year, on April of every year, surcharge rates and labor surcharge, labor search equipment rates and labor surcharge rates. This is a document that's available to the public, and it is available online, and it is used to calculate, or it will help the RE to provide or prepare his engineer's estimate to compare it with the contractor's cost proposal. You have to prepare a cost proposal to show me how much you think it will cost, and I will prepare an engineer's estimate to show you how much I think it should cost me. I mentioned the concurrent delays, and then all of these documented, they have to be documented as we mentioned before. Show me signed tags, invoices, billings, all of this good stuff. Perform your own cost estimate. That's the engineer's role or assignment or responsibility, is to prepare my estimate and compare it against the cost proposal. Now that the next slide, please. Now that we have a time impact evaluation prepared and submitted and approved, where do we go next? Or do we have any questions? Are there any questions so far?
I have a question, Mohammed.
Yes, sir.
Is there ever an instance where you would submit a TIE without having an approved schedule or baseline?
A baseline schedule is a contract requirement. It has to be submitted and approved during the early stages of the project. So I have to have a copy of the baseline schedule.
Good.
The updated schedule is also a mandatory document that I have to receive with you as a contract, with the contractor's payment application. Without a payment, without an updated schedule that is reviewed and approved, a payment application cannot be processed.
Good.
I have a
So
question.
yes, the answer is yes. Yes.
Alex here. Mohammed, please. So talk about what is the mechanism to delegate, to deal with impact or condition that has been discovered to somebody else or back to the owner if it is too much in complexity or potential liability for a small BART contractor.
It has to be brought to. It has to be delegated to the owner, one way or the other, because that is one. That is the first step that you need to substantiate your case in requesting or demanding compensation. It has to
No,
be brought to.
what
I'm
I
sorry,
mean
go ahead.
is I don't want compensation. I don't want to touch it because the liability potentially is too much for my small company. Like if it's a contaminated soil and I know that dewatering will be a problem, this could be such a big liability that I cannot delegate it to myself. I just can't touch it. How do we delegate it to somebody else? it's my contract, it's my project, but I can't deal with it because I'm too small of a contractor to deal with this potential multi-million-dollar liability, which is going to be sitting on me, you know, if it's next to
It is, exactly, yeah. That's why this is a teamwork. So I'm sure you're aware of that. So if you encounter something like this, the sooner you bring it to our attention, to BART's attention, BART will definitely be in a position to provide assistance in at least telling you what you need to do. When you signed the contract, you accepted all the risks that come with it. But that doesn't mean that we should dump you and leave you facing it by yourself. You will definitely, for example, in the case of contaminated soils, the first thing that you need to do is find a laboratory, a material testing laboratory, to dispatch a material testing guy to come and test, or person to come and test these soils. There are many throughout the area. Handling it is definitely, there are regulations, there are laws that require certain, like when you stockpile it, it has to be covered, it has to be isolated. You will not be allowed to remove it, I think, before finding out what type of contamination what contamination, what is the degree of contamination, how contaminated is it.
yes.
It
Liability may come from horizontal or vertical movement of the bridge structure that is out of my league, you know, especially if it's a dewatering and there's potentially vertical movement of a bridge. That is way
the temporary works, temporary measures must be taken. This will definitely involve the designer also. The designer of record on this project will come. When you unearth, for example, when you unearth, you relieve pressures, but you do not undermine the stability of the structure, because you haven't done any disruptive work except excavate around it, because that's how it was when you backfilled. It was by itself. Now, yeah, you will probably impact the stability of the columns, especially if they are too high. But it depends on what type of liability you're talking about. You're talking about handling contaminated soil and water, or living with the situation and watching a structure being exposed. There are different ways that you have to go to, and the team, the project team, will definitely be able to work with you in that. And it's part of the package. You know, comes with the package. You will not be liable because you were not aware of this. So it's not like you knew about it and you just went ahead anyway.
yes.
The shared responsibility here will definitely be clear.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And yeah, feel free to contact me. I know the time here is not our best friend right now, but by all means, give me a call or text me or email me, and I'll be more than happy to go through any scenario that you'd like.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to quickly interject, Alex, thank you for your question. This is a direct example of the type of technical assistance that we can provide. And Mohammed, absolutely, you can take additional questions offline, and we can reduce the questions in writing to get back to folks shortly as well.
Okay, can we move to the next slide, please? In this slide, we are going to be so far what we've discussed is or went over is what a TIE is, what a time impact evaluation is, why and when a time impact evaluation needs to be developed and used, what kind of documentations are required, what is contractually required. A time impact evaluation is a contract requirement, so it has sub requirements that have to come with it. We went through a multi-step process of implementing the TIE. The identification of the impact event, the identification of the schedule impact, or the updated version of the schedule, the creation of a built-in schedule, the fragnet, the calculation and recalculation of scheduled dates of the incorporated events, with the incorporated events, quantify the resulting impact to the existing schedule to come up with addressing the delays and their impacts and the costs that are associated with that. Again, knowing your timing considerations, as soon as you find something, report it, put us on the clock, put us on notice. Let BART know that you are exercising your best endeavors to deal with this, but action must be taken, and you do your job and BART will do their job, and everything will be resolved and dealt with. Documentations, again, know how much you are owed. How do you know that? By figuring out numbers of shifts, and the number of shifts is days, and days is our documentations, timesheets, pay records, daily reports, risk awareness. When you price a project, have that thing in mind. Is there a risk involved? And how do I implement time impact evaluation processes in prospective or retrospective delays? How to address these delays? How to consider or estimate the costs? It's all about presenting your case, and as long as you have the right tools and you have the right information, you should be able to evaluate your cost considerations and address your concerns and be compensated. Next slide, please.
That's the end of our slides.
That's
there.
it.
I have a question, Mohammed, just real quick is, does the TIE have to contain, say, subset activities that were already listed in the project baseline schedule, or can other activities be incorporated?
You need to incorporate only the activities that are affected by this time impact evaluation process, like the example that we have for the excavation and the foundation work. Those two activities are impacted, or actually the foundation and the excavation and the foundation activities are impacted. So we would include those in the mini schedule. Was that your question? Did I answer it?
Yeah, that answered my question. I just want to make sure that, you know, when you do a TIE, you're not bringing in anything that was just not considered completely, I guess, at the get-go through the project baseline. But I see
there is a difference actually when it comes to concurrent delays. There is a very interesting case that I read the other day, and it's not the other day, about years ago. Is what if you are, for example, let's say that a contractor is building a break room, and BART is supplying the HVAC unit. And the contractor is ready to build the HVAC system, to install the HVAC system. Only that BART called and said, we have a transportation problem and it won't be here for another week. And as luck would have it, the same day we have a storm that was not foreseen, a weather storm. that put everybody at home for 10 days. Now, the delays, according to my humble information on delay management or delay process, I think, and I would invite our specialists who are here to talk about this, is please tell me if I'm right. BART will pay for there will not be any payment for the delay, but BART will extend the period of time on the project because of the late delivery of the HVAC equipment. So it's a very delicate and very, it can be very tricky. And that's why you have to have a scheduler, or it is always, I would have a scheduler to evaluate my position and explain this to me before I move forward as a contractor. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mohammed. Appreciate that.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure. I knew you were gonna come out, Shaheen, one time. Yes, that would be a concurrent delay, time extension, but no money. So I was right. Thank you, Shaheen.
It was the second one, but not that one.
It's good to hear from you and see you. So yes, time extension, but no money. Again, thank you very much, everybody. I really enjoyed this. I'm sorry if it took longer than anticipated, but it is a very important topic, and I think it was an excellent idea by the organizers to select this topic and to discuss it.
Mohammed, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This is Javier Pruitt-Hill, SBSS. Could you briefly just state maybe one or two kind of nuances between executing a time impact evaluation with BART versus a different agency? And as I mentioned at the onset, BART is a very unique agency to do business with. Could you provide some of those nuances for folks?
The time impact analysis is an industry-known standard, is a widely accepted and recognized industry standard. It is not, nobody, I think, has a claim of ownership of what this system is, but the approach would be the same. The most important thing is for the contractor is money, and for the RE or BART is time. I want this project to move forward. At the same time, I have to be very careful in making the decision of whether to move forward with an under evaluated time impact package. So that's why the overall, it's the same basically everywhere. It is the same. The steps are the same. It depends on the efficiency and the willingness of the parties involved to execute and move on.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. I think that is going to pretty much conclude our presentation. We do want to thank everybody who's come out. Again, I'm sorry, I keep saying come out, who's tuned in to view the presentation as we shelter in place. I also want to say that in regard to our program, and even talking about scheduling, we have a scheduler who was recently started, you know, with our team from the Martin Lee Consultants, the Lee Corporation. I'm sorry for butchering the name there, but we're very happy to have him working with our program. to offer scheduling assistance to some of our subcontractors. Our program is constantly growing because we're finding ways. As new problems come up in contracting for the small businesses, we are working to find ways to help them, as expanding our program and the services that we give. So we're happy to provide this information about time impact evaluations. We'll have other workshops coming up that'll talk about staffing needs and HR services in various aspects. So thank you again. I'm Harry Overstreet. Please feel free to reach out to myself and to the program if you have any other questions.